What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do something that I found I'm surprisingly okay at. Hard lines. Yeah, I've been putting this off for a really long time. Been wanting to do it for years and years. The only thing that really set me back, the tools are expensive. I ain't gonna lie. It took me quite a while to bite the bullet to buy these. I got what I would assume is probably one of the best of the best. It's the number one that I've seen, like on Lay It Low, and pretty much everyone recommends, is a Ridgid. I'll get you a part number for it. And also got some Imperial benders. I got one for 3/8. Got one for 1/2 inch up there on the wall. Haven't tackled any 1/2 inch yet. Always kind of been intimidated by doing this, mainly because the tools are really expensive. And if you mess up, the line seems like it's a little bit pricey. I haven't really got the best price on the line. This was actually left over from a job that I did, an industrial plant. I was running some line. Totally not what I'm intending it for on this, but it is the line they use for hard lines. So I don't really have the best place to recommend where to get your line from, but I can recommend where to get the other stuff. We got the little flare nuts and the little flare sleeves. I can get you a part number for these. They are pretty cheap. They surprised me a lot. Surprisingly enough, they were cheaper at the Parker store here locally than they are to buy them. Even cheaper than buying them online just by going to the store. Couldn't believe that. So next time I go back, I'll probably buy them out of stock. That way I'll have plenty to go around. As far as the tools, you can get these on Amazon. That's where I got them from. I will put a link in the description. If you go through my link, I do have an Amazon affiliates page, so I will get a little bit of a kickback. It won't cost you anything, but it gives me a kickback, helps me build the channel, build more stuff. Another thing, anything you buy through that, if you go through that link and say you want to buy shoes or whatever else you can get on Amazon, that will give me a kickback from that. I don't know how it works, but it works. How's a Posi Track in Plymouth work? It just does. Anyways, yeah, keep that in mind. I try and do it myself. It's a hard thing to get in the habit of, but it definitely helps out. So the more we can make off that, the more cool stuff we can buy, lower our stuff. All right, getting into the flare nuts and the flare sleeves, I'll give you some part numbers here. For 1/2 inch, it is 8BTXS. That is for regular steel. SS for stainless steel. These ones are regular steel. They look pretty close to stainless though, but that was the only thing they had in stock. That's for the nut. For the sleeve is 8TXS. SS for stainless steel. And that's for the sleeve itself. That is 1/2 inch. 3/8 inch is 6BTXSS and 6TXSS. So there you go. You can find that stuff online. Like I said, it was cheaper for me to go to the Parker store. So if you got a Parker store locally to you, you might want to check it out. You might save some money. One more thing, last but not least, tubing cutter. I did get a Ridgid. You could probably use just about any tubing cutter you can find. I just wanted to get the best of the best because I wanted my stuff to turn out really good. And surprisingly enough, it turned out pretty good. I had a little hiccup. This is actually my number 1.5. As you can see there, I did an initial bend right just like this. It turned out pretty good. I could have made it work, but I was like, I could do better. And this really didn't waste a whole lot of material, so I was pretty happy cutting it up. And it did give me a little tool to kind of help measure. And I will go in and say I'm no pro at this by any means. I actually watched a lot of videos also. Russell Harris, he has a video on hard lines. It helped me out a pretty good bit. Kind of gave me an idea, definitely gave me an idea for using this, because that made it a lot easier for this last bend, because I wanted this to be dead on. These two here, I could kind of mess with them. I was landing there, so I had to hit the mark. Yeah, so I watched his video to give me a really good idea on this. Andreas Lazarde, he also has a YouTube channel. He never posts YouTube videos. Can't blame him, the dude's always busy. He's got better stuff to do than making videos. But he did kind of clear me up on using the flaring tool. I couldn't quite remember how to do it. I've done brake lines and stuff like that. This is a little bit different, not really a whole lot. With that being said, you do need this flaring tool. You cannot use a brake line flaring tool. It will not work. Brake lines are 45 degrees. These are 36. So definitely gotta have the right tool, otherwise it's gonna leak and not work. So getting into doing the hard lines. So if I'd have done this yesterday, when I did this, it'd be a lot easier because everything would be fresh in my memory. But kind of gonna go with it, maybe a little hit and miss. We're gonna see what we can do here. The best I've learned, basically, what I got here, got a little tool, got a little mark there, hopefully you can see it. It's crawling around over there. Skink. Got a skink in the shop. As you can see, I got a little mark there. Kind of what it is this is where your bend's going to start. If you measure, say this backing plate, I measured 3 inches. And that is where I wanted the end of my bend to be. Well, I need to take off for whatever grows after that mark. I believe it was 1.25 inches on this. You will have to check on your own because probably every bender is a little bit different. So best thing I can say is make you a scrap piece, sacrifice it, make you a mark, make a 90. That'll definitely help out. You know, you can lay it up there, you can judge where you need to put your mark. Really helped out a lot. And since we touched on helping the channel out, you might notice that bad boy. I do have shirts. I got them in sizes from small all the way up to 6X. Hit me up. I got them in stock, ready to ship out. Get up with me on Facebook. You can also get up with me on Instagram. It takes a little bit longer for me to get back on Instagram. I don't really check that very much. But Facebook, you know, I usually see it pretty quick. Worst case scenario, I check it at night before I go into work, so I can hit you up in the middle of the night and wake you up and bug you. But with that being said, we're going to put a little mark all the way around our tube. This is the original 90 that we built. I'm going to just put it around. That way I can use it this way or this way. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to line my tube up where I want it. I want it to be kind of even. Yeah, kind of even with the back of this. I actually went behind it just a hair. I want to say my measurement was 3 inches, but we'll double check just to be safe. And also one major thing that you want to keep a note of. I'll come around and show you guys. One thing is you do not want to measure to there. You want to measure to the end of the flare. If you measure to there, your flare is going to go over that. Your line is going to be a little bit crooked. So keep that in mind. Alright, so we're going to measure to the end of our flare. Kind of hold our little template piece up here. So looking at this one, we'll line it up with the back of our backing plate. I think I'm going to do 2 7/8 on this one. I want to say I did 3 inch on this, but it could be a little bit different with the threads of all the fittings going in. So we're going to go 2 7/8 and roll with the punches, see how it goes. One thing to definitely keep in mind, this is a cut-off piece. So that means I have burrs on the end. Check that out. Probably can't see it. There you go. Yeah, it has burrs on it. You definitely want to clean that off. It will make your stuff sealed poorly. Plus, you don't want metal material in your system. That can mess some stuff up. So, got a little claw thing there on the back of the cutter. I usually run it around a few times. Got a file. Run it a few times. And I actually get the corner of the file, stick in there, and just make sure it's extra clean. Oops. And try not to scratch the tube while you do it like I just did. That will be covered up, so it'll be okay. And just do a second glance, make sure it's as square as you can get it, make sure it doesn't have no burrs, and that does look good. So we're going to go 2 7/8. Stuff is a little bit awkward. I haven't really mastered what's the best way to kind of lay it out and mark stuff, so just kind of going with it. All right, here's where it gets like super duper awkward, because this thing just like all flops around 20 million different directions. 21 million different directions. So, how the hell is this thing going to go? So it's kind of awkward getting it started, but it will come with time, I'm sure, as all things do. Well, here's what we're going to start out with. You can see my little black line. It's on 0. And we're going to bend it around to 90. We will have to go a little bit past it, just for the spring back of the metal, but not much past it. I'm going to use a square to make sure it is a true 90. You can fudge it back and forth a little bit by hand, so don't have a huge fear of overbending or underbending. Yeah, if you go like 10 degrees over, you might not be able to go back that much. You definitely don't want to risk kinking it, but you can go just a hair. I have learned that. And one more thing, everybody said that stainless steel is like super, super hard to bend. Really didn't have a problem with this. Maybe I'm just like ridiculously strong or something. Now, I'm assuming 1/2 inch is probably way harder. But I got 3/8 and so far it ain't too bad. If you see me sweating profusely, it's not because the stuff is that hard to bend. This is really hot and I can't have a fan, as you can totally hear it when I do. Yep, you're gonna have to go some more. That's okay. Easier to go more than less. Easier to go less than more, yeah. Whatever. Go a little bit more. I haven't haven't quite figured out the sweet spot on this thing to be able to nail it every time. But it will come with time, I'm sure. That right there is probably too much. Nailed it. That's what I'm talking about. That'll work. And if everything lined up, we should be pretty good, which it does look pretty good. So I like that. So we'll put a flare in here. That way we can put a flare nut on there, keep everything locked in position to kind of get us a little bit more even going this way. Now, with that being said, everyone's totally hot to trot to flare this thing, because I mean, that's like the whole reason we're doing this, you know? Stop right there. I already messed up once. And you will more than likely mess up. It is pretty much a guarantee. I told myself this the entire time I did that line. I've done it numerous times on brake lines. You'll never make the best flare until you forget to put your flare nut on there in your sleeve. I almost thought it was a sleeve short. These are directional also, so make sure you put it in the right direction. The wider part goes towards the flare. Keep that in mind. And you might want to put them on in the right order. The nut goes on first. The sleeve goes on the second time. And if you have it on the right, it should protrude through the nut just a little bit, the sleeve itself. So keep that in mind. The nut you can put on afterwards. The sleeve, it can't quite go past a 90. So keep that in mind, because it'll get you. It'll get you every time. All right, with that being said, we're gonna go to 3/8 on our flaring tool. Kind of just open up. This thing is pretty freaking sweet, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, that's gonna fall off on the floor, but that's all right. So what we want to do, at least what I've been doing so far, I put the tube even with the top of this flaring tool. Kind of back that up a little bit. Run it over here, and then I just slowly put the die down the tube. Not enough to back off out of the flaring tool itself, but just enough to kind of center it up, because you got to tighten this down. Actually, now that I see it, there's little indentions here, so you may not have to do that. I was just doing it just to do it, I guess. But you do want to tighten that down. This little gap up here will close. And this brand right here actually grips this really, really good. So now we got it all set up. We're going to check it out one more time to make sure we're even, looking good. So we're going to start tightening it down. It does surprisingly flare pretty easy. I mean, once you get to where you got to bow up, you're done. You don't need to go any further. And that is it. And there you have it. Yet another beautiful flare. Probably isn't in focus, but take my word on it. As far as measuring how far your distance are, there are numerous ways of doing it. You can kind of just do it one piece at a time and just measure from there. You honestly could do this whole thing on a piece of paper, add it up, and then just make all the bends. I kind of used to do that when I was doing like sanitary pipe. I'd literally go into a room, measure off the walls, all different crazy directions, measure off the ceiling, go back, sit in my little workstation, add it all up, do all my takeoffs, cut my pipe, put it together. If I was good, it fit. Not always, but it got better at the end, I'll say that. But what we can do to figure out our distance from here to the center of our dump, kind of rule of thumb with pipe, you do want to go off centers. I didn't always do it on this, but that's what I try and stick to. And if you put a square on there, this side of our ruler is center of this flare. So that kind of helps us out there. All we got to do is measure over from the edge of that. Move that a little further. Measure over from the edge of this to the center of our dump. And that'll kind of give us a really good measurement. which that one there looks to be about 5 7/8, which that one will be different. I kind of just want to let you know how to measure. That way you can get these the same distance as that. Not to mention a straight edge, going straight up that block, that'll keep you pretty well squared up with everything too. So this one here, it's closer to 5 3/4. So we'll go with that. And that is going to be pretty much to the center of our fitting. So what we're going to do, we're going to use a little test piece here. That way we can kind of gauge where we need to be. Now, where this can get really confusing, we measured this off of centers. So we don't want to measure from outside to outside, because then it's going to be too big. Don't want to measure from inside to inside, because then it's going to be too small. You want to measure either from outside to inside, or inside to outside. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at my trailer arm video, and I'll explain a little bit more. Plus I can get you to watch more videos. The 5 3/4 is what we had. So we're going to go outside to the inside. And there is 5 3/4 right there. If we can remember where we put our Sharpie, way over here. Yeah, I did a little bit of contortioning. We will double check just to make sure we didn't move. Outside to inside. I'm going to try and kind of do it back towards the 90 best I can. That should be good right there. Then we'll find our little mark that we have on here. Mark it. Because that's going to set us back from our center line. Therefore, when our bend grows, it should line up on our fitting down there. We will see. And here's where things can really kind of get crazy really easily. Best thing I've kind of found, make a mark all the way around the pipe tube. That way, no matter where you have your bender, you can see the mark, so you're not kind of trying to like go around the bender, nothing like that. So we'll get it set up one way or another. We're going to put our mark on the 0, and then we got to look down it. And I know it's hard for you to see. The handle really throws you off. The handle's kind of off like a 30 degree. So you basically got to eyeball the bending radius, little spot where you bend it, and make it square best you can. And then you got to move over here, and double check everything and realign everything before you mess it all up. So there again, it does move pretty easily, but you can tweak it some, but you honestly want to get it as good as you can get it the first time. All right, we're all lined up there, so we're going to bend our 90 now. Let's see how terrible of a job we did. Nailed it good enough. I'll take that as a win. See, it gets easier the more you do it. And it gets hotter the longer this takes. Looking good so far. Use a wrench wherever I got one. And kind of snug this up. Because now we're playing with a lot of different angles. We want to make sure that these are the same. Which, they're a little off. Now it's good. Want to make sure that this is level. So when we look across the back, it's not drooping down and not going up. Looks pretty good there. In a perfect world, you could really set this up in the vise and put a level on top there and get it just right. But I think we'll be okay. Once again, we'll bring back our little jig here. That'll kind of help us line everything up just right. We can go over this, kind of eyeball it down. Right about there. Put us a little mark. And that will calculate on our takeoff. Alright, so as I said before, this is where things can really get crazy. You want to keep a mental note of which way you're bending this. You know, you can get turned around as you're messing around, getting your bender set up. And if you're not careful, you'll be going up. And you'll be making this line instead of this line. So definitely keep that in mind. Take your time. You know, it's better to think it out a few extra steps than wasting a bunch of material. Not to mention, once you already have 2 bends gone in a flare, you know, you're kind of really backtracking then. That gets really aggravating really quick when you have to go back and make a change. And with me talking to you guys, as I got 100% guarantee I will mess up. So let's hope we don't mess up. I'll do my bender right in front of me as usual. Alright, we're going to come on this side. Hold that for me. We're going to use the bender the same way we've been using it, for the most part. And now we get to factor in everything. Square that with that. Which looks pretty good. Check our measurement there again, which looks pretty good. Double check that one more time because it ain't gonna hurt, because it does look like it dropped down just a hair. Alright, still good. So here we go. And this is where you give up and go inside. Go a little bit more. Damn, that's way too much. Should have known. It was going too good. That'll work right there. Alright. This is where you kind of get creative. Now we need to figure out our distance down. So I'm going to get this hanging off the other side of the bench. Actually, I'm going to lay it on the side. That's what I'm going to do. And that right there is looking pretty good. It is lining up. Got a little bit of wiggle room there. That's also kind of long, so it kind of makes it where it doesn't quite line up, but it is good enough. So here's going to be the fun part, is measuring this so it's fitting in the way. I think it'll be a-okay. Yeah, right there looks pretty good. Worst case scenario, we're too long, we can't cut it down. If you're too short, you know, can't really add much to it. So we're going to go to the back of our flare, make our mark. Now we're going to cut. If all goes as planned, should all line up. So far it's looking really good. And we got some rain to make it really humid. Got my cutter wheel lined up on my dot. I'm about to run it around in circles, slowly increasing tension every time I go around, or every other time, I guess. Probably should have to flip the other way, so we'll go ahead and do. That way when this breaks off, the piece I'm not using will hit the ground instead of the piece I am using. It's all scratched up. But if luck has it, I'll be able to catch both of them. Or drop it on the ground, either way. Clean up our burr in there. Grab our file it off all good and smooth. And before we go any further, before we even touch another tool, we're going to look for our flare nut. It's somewhere right around here. How's the damn thing go? There it is. We're going to grab our flare nut and our sleeve. Make sure our sleeve is going in the right direction because it was just sitting on the table and it was not. Put our flare nut on, put our sleeve on. Before we do anything, before we set this thing down, before we walk away, before we make a YouTube video, before I pick this piece up off the ground, before I bend it all up by stepping on it. Because if not, you will forget, you will mess up. Yes, ask me how I know. And with that being said, we can double check it again. I guess it wouldn't hurt. I'm pretty confident it's going to land where we want it to, but just to be safe. I like it. I like it a lot. You do have a little bit of wiggle room too. Keep that in mind. Half inch, definitely a lot harder. I can't tell you that. When I was putting the Hulk stuff together, it was a little tricky, I'm not going to lie, but it did all go together and none of it leaked, thank God. But this stuff here, the longer, let's try to put that in the right one. The longer the tube, the easier it is to kind of have some wiggle room. Obviously, if I was just building some really, really short return lines, yeah, that doesn't need to be pretty precise. So definitely keep that in mind. Get that all tightened up. Doesn't matter which way you index it on there. I did put it in the vise earlier. I guess I can do it now too, the way it is. No, I cannot. That protrudes through. I don't know why it protrudes through. I didn't think it did before. You can put it in the vise. You can put it in the vise this way if your stuff is angled right. Mine isn't. But it really isn't that bad. So we're just going to tighten it down. Double check, make sure we got our flare nut and sleeve on, and we are good. Trust me, you don't want to mess that up. And you will. So go ahead and look forward to it. Oh yeah, that is a beautiful flare. I will say this thing does flare really, really nice. I've done a lot of brake lines. Yeah, they're hit or miss. This thing so far, 4 out of 4, well, 5 out of 5. They did pretty good, no complaints. And that right there is looking pretty good. It's actually threading up, which is a very good sign. It kind of tells you hit the mark. Snug that up just a tad. Snug that up just a tad. Now let's stand it up and see how crooked it is. That doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I can live with that. Very nice, and you probably wouldn't even notice in the trunk really, honestly. But I do want it to look nice. So now we have our Sharpie marks on here. Usually what I do is just get some lacquer, put it on a rag, comes right off. Also takes the ink off that's on the pipe tubing and cleans it up. You can polish these. What I did think about doing beforehand to make it easy to polish, basically chuck this end up on a cordless drill, put it in the vise. Could get a little crazy, definitely don't do it with a 90 on the end, but chuck it up in a vise and turn it on. Get you like a little Scotch-Brite pad, just run up and down it. Seems like it'd be easy, then you can polish it on a buffing wheel. Shine it up like chrome. I don't know if other people do that. It just seems like an easy way. I've seen a lot of guys bend them, which I mean, yeah, it will scratch a little bit when you bend it, but that's a lot less of an area to polish than the whole thing. But I see a lot of guys pre-bend them all and then polish them. Seems like an awful lot of work. I am not going to polish these. I did these as a freebie for the guy with the 93 Cadillac. Hooking him up. He's been really, really cool. Not to mention, I just wanted to learn how to do this. Why not, right? But yeah, a little bit extra, you know, make things look a lot better, plus get to learn a little bit more. So as I said before, there are tons of ways of measuring. Like I said, you can do takeoffs. More than likely, that's probably where I'm going to get my head back in. Right now, I'm kind of feeling dumb. Not remembering how to do my takeoffs and stuff like that. But basically all it is, you know, just add it up, you know, say that's 3 inches. Your takeoff is 1 1/4 inches, which is 1.25. Then take that off. That'll give you your calculation there. You can mark your pipe, do your measurement off this way, take off your 90, mark your pipe, boom, there you go. So I'm gonna wrap it up here. It's getting kind of warm in here. It started to rain and the humidity has went through the roof, and unfortunately the heat's with it, so it's cooking. So if you want to help the channel out and support us, remember we do have shirts. We do have Amazon affiliate page. Go and buy a bunch of stuff, help out the channel so I can keep doing cool stuff like this. I'm literally not making any like good money off of YouTube, but every penny helps. I've learned to make my dollars really, really stretch. And honestly, that's why I learned to do everything myself, because having a shop do this, it'd probably cost a fortune. Couldn't really honestly tell you off the top of my head what it costs to build a set of R lines, but I know it's not going to be cheap. It is kind of labor intense. The tools are very, very expensive. Only reason I really broke down and buy these is because I don't plan on doing just this set. I'm probably going to do like every single set from here on out. It's a lot cleaner, less things can go wrong really with this. So that's kind of why I learned to do it. But getting back to supporting the channel, if you guys want to help out, that is super, super appreciated. Once again, we do have shirts. Got them from sizes small all the way up to 6X. With that being said, I'm going to end it here. Just remember, you won't know what you can do until you try it. Didn't quite know I could do this. Boom, look at it. Nailed it. So I'll see you guys later. Appreciate you watching.